Okay, so we're here with Tyler at Chase Bliss stand.
Yes,
Hey,
how's
man.
it going? Welcome. Yeah, I'm Tyler
you.
with Chase Bliss. We also have Chompi Club here as well. Chompi Club has kind of joined forces with Chase Bliss now and is kind of in our umbrella. So we just thought it'd be a great way to show off all of our devices, have everything set up in this kind of way where we have the main output going from the Chompi into the effects pedal chain and then back into the Chompi. Chompi is a sampler that you can play chromatic samples on, and you can also play like short or not even short, but long like one-shot kind of samples. So
Yeah.
the way I have it set up right now is in the chromatic sampler mode, so you can and you can select different samples on here by holding down the Chompi key, and all of these different keys is a different sample that you can load. And then there's 3 different banks of chromatic samples, so you can continue to kind of cycle through things here. And then a third bank. And then on the other side here, we have, these are like the one-shot loops. So every key in this mode plays a different full sample. So we have some kind of like drum loops and things going on. And then over here, we have some more kind of like real-world kind of samples, like guitars, pianos, and things like that.
Yeah.
And then on the last one here, we just kind of have some interesting, you know, like some Superbooth sounds on the last one here. Just kind of like bubbly synthy things. So the way that I personally like to use this is to start with a drum loop and then start working with the tape-style looper that we have here as well. So the way that I personally like to do it is to arm the looper so that it's waiting to hear audio to start recording. And you can do that by holding this play button and pressing the record button. And now you can see it's waiting for audio to start recording, and so I can... And now I have a drum loop kind of like locked in here. And now you can start kind of messing with it and doing some kind of fun things where you can speed it up if you want. You can slow it down. You can go all the way into reverse. Reverse, speed it up. And just click it to go right back to normal speed. There's also some effects built into Chompi. In default state, the effects go before the looper. But you can route the effects post-looper and have this wonderful stereo kind of reverb delay thing going on. The next page of effects you can get to by clicking this. And this is like a tape saturation. You get some kind of like nice warmth and distortion in there. And then the last page is like a high-pass, low-pass filter. And when you click through different pages of effects, it will remember the effect state. So that's why I'm resetting everything back to normal when I switch between pages here. And then you can also overdub on top of here. So if I go over to the chromatic side, I can do overdubs if I want to. So now I have just kind of a basic loop going, volume over here. And now what I like to do is kind of start messing around with some of the pedals a little bit more. So I'm going to go back to just this basic drum loop so we can start with clean. Clean is our compressor. It's a stereo analog 2-stage compressor. All of these devices that we have here are all stereo. Every pedal can take MIDI messages to kind of manipulate and modulate different parameters with CC messages. Every pedal can save and recall presets with PC messages, and every parameter can also be controlled with an expression device or a CV message, so CV signal. So it can work really well with like Euro rack stuff and can be integrated. All of our pedals, these pedals can handle line level signals as well. So they can be integrated into a system like pretty easily. And we like to do stuff that's a little bit different, a little bit weird. So I'll start with clean here by just getting like a drum loop loaded up. All right, so we'll start with the compressor. This can do pretty basic compression stuff if you have it set in this mode here. I'm just gonna reset the hidden options on here quick. So it can do everything from normal compression. Everything on the dynamic knob is different ratios up to noon. And then once you get up to past noon, you get into like hard limiting. And then you get all the way up into like tube seg, kind of just like this like really, you know, squash kind of almost like distorted sound. What's really cool about clean is you can also do parallel compression, so you can blend in the wet and the dry, kind of have both those things going at the same time. Turn the dry back down here. And then there's a really nice EQ on here, just kind of like a high pass, low pass kind of vibe. And then there's some different ways now where you can start manipulating the compression, doing some weird things. You can mess with the physical dynamics and like response of the actual compression. You can have it be really twitchy and really unstable and kind of crumbly. You can see the indicator here flashing and showing that it's getting a little bit wobbly and a little bit unstable. There's also a more subtle version of that where it's not quite as twitchy and unstable, but still gives it a little bit of extra like movement and life. And then we have some interesting modulation modes in here where if you activate this modulation mode, in this mode, the attack controls the actual rate of the modulation. It's this great like stereo panning kind of sound.
Yeah,
and then you can use the EQ knob to choose like if you want to modulate around the high frequencies or the low frequencies. So this is like the low pass kind of modulation side, and like the higher pass kind of modulation side. And of course you can get really fast, almost into like ring mod territory, or you can have like this really nice kind of like dramatic slow pan sweep going. Just another way to add some kind of like life and movement to your, with drums in particular, I think this just works great.
There's a really good range on those.
Oh, it's
really nice.
It's
range.
nice. And then the last kind of like mode that you can do here with the movement is like a shifty mode, where it does like a shifting frequency thing, where when you have it set like this, every time it defeats the threshold, the EQ modulates from this low pass state like back to the neutral state. So again, just another way to add some like movement and some life, have a little bit of dynamic to it. And then there's also like a volume swell mode, and there's like a distortion mode. So just some extra kind of like bells and whistles and things to mess with it. Onward here is our dynamic sampler, and the way that this effect works is every time it detects new audio, it re-triggers a new sample. So the way that I have it set up is with a fast fade in and full sustain. This is kind of like a synth envelope. And from here, every time it hears new audio, it's going to start resampling. I'll have it set up in a basic way where it's just kind of...
And how does it define new audio? Is it like when it goes above a threshold?
Anytime it detects new audio. So yeah, there is a threshold, but it's pretty light, and you can actually adjust that with a hidden option for how quickly you want it to like grab new audio.
Oh, cool.
But in the default state, it's pretty responsive. And what's really cool about this now is now that you have some stuff happening, you can kind of start to add some weird, textural things. You can add some modulation. You can do a chorus. You can do a vibrato. You can add in some like analog style kind of like distortion, overdrive, or you can do some like digital kind of like bit crushy like aliasing stuff. You can do an octave up. You can do an octave down. And then you can add in some randomization here. So the way the randomization works is this section. As you turn the error knob up, it increases the likelihood of an error happening. So, and we have 3 different types of errors. We have speed and direction is this one here. And these are all stereo effects as well, so you have this kind of like stereo bouncing kind of delay sound almost.
Yeah, it's really trippy.
Then there's quality or condition, which basically like creates like audio dropouts and like kind of destructive elements and like some aliasing. And then the last one is like sizing, so it randomly will resize the sample, and so you get this kind of like weird, kind of like almost granular scrubbing sound. That can also be, the pedal can be clock synced with MIDI or CV as well. So you can have everything happening like in time in a way that's very rhythmic and fun. And that's just the free side. There's also a glitch side, which is like a short repeating phrase. And what's really cool about this is you can actually do tap tempo as well if you don't have like a clock sync. It's a kind of a secret button command, but if you press these twice, now you're in tap tempo mode.
And the onboard audio will adapt to the tempo, right?
Yeah, exactly, because it's just resampling every time it hears new audio. So, like, if I stop this, for instance, this was the last sound that it heard, and that'll just go forever then, you know? Cool. And so anytime I play it, it starts resampling again, picks up new audio. And another way, so, like, if I play this with, like, a bit more of a melodic patch, and if I wanted to, like, let's say I want to do like a freeze, or like a true freeze, I can hold this down, put it into a latch state, and now I can play on top of it. And it won't resample anymore. But let's say I want it to be sampling on the glitch side though.
So that's resampling the incoming audio as well as freezing the previous audio.
Yeah, you can do both at the same time. So
that's
just
nice.
kind of lots of fun, interesting ways to have it follow along behind you. So yeah, it's really good with drums, really good with kind of anything, synth focus as well, or guitar as well. Kind of the original intention of this was to bring some of the kind of like resampling workflow that a lot of, you know, DJs and electronic musicians use, but put it into like a guitar friendly kind of thing. But all of our pedals work really well with synths as well.
Brilliant.
So this other one over here is this is generation loss. This is like a lo-fi kind of tape simulator pedal. It does kind of like VHS degradation as well as like reel-to-reel kind of stuff. It brings all of the like inaccuracies and weirdness about tape into like a real-time kind of thing. So again, I really like this with drum machines. So this is kind of a little bit of everything going on at once. We have wow, we have flutter, we have some kind of like magnetic, like tape saturation kind of sounds. And then the failure is like pops and snags and crinkle and all that stuff, like audio dropouts. And it's similar to Onward, where as you turn up failure, it increases the likelihood of one of those errors happening. So you can also add some like noise in there. You can blend in dry signal, which can be really cool. You can almost use it like a parallel compressor with that, where you have this like, you have this affected signal going on, but you still have your dry signal there at the same time. So you kind of get this interesting blend between the two of them. It also has a tape stop on it. So you can do kind of like real-time tape stop stuff, which is really fun. And then the model knob here is actually, it's a bunch of different like real-world EQ profiles that our designer Tom sampled from like actual examples of like worn-out VHS tapes or like reel-to-reels or like dictaphones.
Yeah,
so we have all
nice.
these different just kind of like EQ profiles where you can start from and kind of like modulate that around and manipulate your sound from there in different ways. Just some
Nice.
customization kind of stuff.
Some really sort of pleasing artifacts in there.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. It's really nice, yeah. And Mood over here, this is our most popular pedal that we make right now. It's similar to Onward in that it's a 2-channel effect, so each foot switch activates a different effect. This is kind of like a collection of ambient style like reverbs and delays and a micro looper. So this side over here is all different reverbs and delays. The reverb that we have is actually like a multi-tap delay with a smear. So in this mode right here, I'm actually going to switch over to a more melodic sound. So in this mode right here, you can hear that it's all the multi-tap delays. And as I turn this modify up, it smears into just a massive, like huge cavernous reverb. And another really thing that's cool about Mood is the entire pedal, all of the processing can be controlled with this clock knob. So you can turn up the sample rate and have really pristine, really high quality audio, but your loops will be shorter, your delay times will be a little bit shorter, but the clock is quantized to fits and octaves. So as I turn this up, everything always stays pleasing. So you can use that in a performance-based way where you can kind of mess with the processing effect of the pedal itself, but have it still be musical and interesting. So up here you have these high-quality reverbs, really, really nice, and you bring it down, you just kind of like bit crushy, like alias, like very long, drawn-out sounds.
Yeah, and as you said, all of these parameters are controllable by like an expression pedal.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, so you can hook that up to an expression device. You could also hook that up to like a CV signal. And also on this pedal in particular, on the back we have a kind of a suite of dip switches that can be used for further customization options. And the main feature of most of the dip switches is just assign a parameter to the expression source. So it's like if you want to have, you know, that clock on there, you would just do the clock knob on the back, plug in an expression pedal. But there's also an internal LFO that can be accessed with the dip switch that's labeled bounce. And so you could assign that LFO to the clock and have it like modulate internally as well. Yeah, exactly. And just add some more movement without having to you can automate it. So you don't really have to like worry about it with an expression device or anything. So our big philosophy is just putting as much control as we possibly can over kind of like an original idea. So yeah, that's the reverb. And then there's also a delay. Just a classic, clean digital delay. But it's got a stable kind of feedback thing. So if you turn up the modify all the way, it'll almost work as like a secondary looper where it won't self-oscillate. It'll just stay stable like that forever. So just like a nice delay. And then the slip mode is kind of a weird one. It's like a speed and direction delay with just like a single repeat. So all the way up in this position, you're going to be going twice as fast forward.
That's funky.
And then you can get everything in between to like all the way twice as fast reverse. So as I dial this down, you get all these weird kind of chromatic semitones. And all the way at noon, it's basically like tape stop. You're not going to really hear anything. But then as I go into reverse.
Oh, that's nice.
So that's like pitched. So you can do regular kind of reverse delay, but then even twice as fast reverse. And that does stereo panning as well. So just kind of another way to add movement and stuff.
Yeah, a lot of character in there.
Yeah. And then you can also pitch the clock down on that, so you can have this be a little bit like. way longer delay times. Kind of bit crushy, a little bit worn out sounding. Yeah, and then on the other side here are the always listening micro looper modes. So the way that this works is every time this red light flashes, the buffer resets. You don't tell it when to start recording. It's always recording. You just tell it when to play back. So you play some notes. I'll play something that sounds good, hopefully. So now in tape mode, this is kind of like a traditional looper where it does like speed and direction. So you can speed it up, go twice as fast, and go in reverse. And then this is also controlled by the clock, so you can speed up the processing, you can slow it down. And then there's a stretch mode, which is kind of like a granular, like time stretching kind of thing, where you can have it just like take the audio, slice it up, spread it out a little bit. And then the last mode here, envelope mode, is an interesting one. When you play loud enough to defeat the threshold, it'll grab whatever audio is in the buffer, freeze it, and split it into a stereo kind of like panning signal. And you can control how fast that goes with the length. So you can have it go really fast, or a little bit slower. But you can also do really fast and like really kind of immediate stuff if you want to do like ambient kind of things. A way that I really like to use it is has something going in the stretch mode. And then you can route the micro looper into the reverb side as well. So now I have the stretch going into the reverb, and then I can play on top of it also through the reverb.
Super ambient.
So yeah, just kind of like a really
Very
fast,
serene.
like immediate, like ambient kind of sketchpad pedal.
Yeah, man.
And then our last one here, Lossy, is kind of similar to Generation Loss. This was in collaboration with the plugin company Goodhertz, and it's a version of their plugin Lossy. We added a couple extra things. We have like a gate mode and some like freezing kind of things on there. It's similar to Gen Loss in that it's a lo-fi pedal, but it's based on the effect of like data compression, the kind of effect that you'd have when you downloaded like an MP3 over a bad dial-up and you get all these kind of weird artifacts.
I remember those days.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And it's similar to Generation Loss where like we want access to those, but in a fun and musical way. So with a drum machine going here, we can hear it a lot better. There's a really powerful multi-band filter on here that can do high pass, low pass, band pass, and a really nice reverb as well. And then everything else is kind of related to the loss mode. So in this mode, you're going to hear with the speed and the loss up, some of that kind of like watery, like processed kind of sound. But then you can even filter out some of the high frequencies. So you just have some of this like kind of lo-fi character, reverb. And then the global control is kind of like a mixed control, but it controls the overall like effect of everything happening together. So you can have some of these interesting things happening in the background, but not have it really like overwhelm your signal, depending on how you want to use it. And then you can do some interesting things with like messing with the loss, where you can do either a packet loss mode or a packet repeat mode. So in packet loss mode, it takes slices of audio and drops them out. And this interacts with the speed as well. So if I have the speed turned down, it reacts a little bit slower. You're going to have these bigger audio dropouts that are a little bit longer. With speed up, they're a little bit faster. And then there's also packet repeat mode, which takes that same audio and kind of freezes it. So this is a little bit faster, but slower. You get into this like the dial-up kind of like glitchy, you know. But again, you can dial the global back, have some of that happening, but not have it be overwhelming your signal.
I mean, I'm tempted to ask what happens if you use them all together.
Yeah, I mean, we can get everything up in there. Just straight internet dial-up weirdness.
It's so unique, man. There's so much character to these.
It's very interesting. Yeah, there's not a lot of stuff out like it. And then we have a couple different loss modes. Like there's inverse mode, where everything that you're hearing or everything that you're not hearing right now, all the frequencies that are being stripped away, you can get just those frequencies. You can isolate those.
That's cool.
So you kind of have like the other side of it. Just another way to kind of mess with the sound. And then the last mode here is phase jitter, which messes with like timing inaccuracies and phasing. So it softens the attack quite a bit. It just adds this kind of interesting sound. And then, of course, very powerful filters. You can filter everything if you want to. And then the last mode that I like to do on here to show off that I think is really cool with drums in particular is the gate mode. So if you hold down bypass, it just clips everything off. So you just don't have those trails. You just have everything be kind of contained. You can have all these weird sounds, but they're not super overwhelming.
Yeah, and we've gone so far from the original beat, which is
exactly.
in
You
here.
just turn this off, and that's all we're doing. So you can
different
add a lot of
world.
life, a lot of movement, and like I like using the compressor on for like everything, just trying to bring some of this like snappy character into play.
There's such a unique sort of playful element to all of these. They're fantastic, man.
And then one last thing that we have that's set up here that's pretty cool is with the Chompi. So I think I mentioned earlier, we have the main audio running out into the pedal chain and then back in for resampling. So one thing I like to do is load up like a melodic patch, put like a fourth on it or something, get a bunch of reverb on here, get this Lossy sound all going. So now I can go into sampling mode, sample a quick little bite of that, and now I can play that sample chromatically, what I just took. So you can get those kind of like that interesting like fourths kind of sound. You can do a lot of cool like live techno things with that where you can, I feel like I hear that like those fourths pitches a lot. Yeah.
Thank you so much for showing us through those, Tyler.
Yeah, of course.
Amazing. And they're all available now?
Yep, all of our pedals are available right now. All of these are $469, available from our hub in Amsterdam. So if you buy a pedal within the EU or the UK, it ships from within the EU with all the VAT included and free shipping and a 30-day no questions asked return policy. So if something doesn't work out, it's easy to get it back to Amsterdam. You don't have to worry about sending it to the US or anything like that.
Amazing. And Chompi, you're doing firmware updates on this?
Yeah, so we're actually working on building another run of these right now that's going to be exactly like this, hopefully coming out sometime in the next few months. We're planning on making a lot of them. And then once we finish up with this run, we're just going to kind of see where it goes from there. I mean, we love Chompi. We love working with them. And having them on our team now is just so amazing. And yeah, we're excited about what's going to happen in the future.
Great. Well, I think it's going to go to fun places.
Yeah.
And we're looking forward to that.
Me too as well.
Thank you, man.
Awesome. Thanks for coming. Appreciate it.